Hey YouTube, it's John again. Hey, it's warm. It's up in the upper 60s, lower 70s. I'm enjoying my bike. I've got about 1,200 miles on it. A little over 2 weeks old. Man, I've been loving this bike, and I'm out here on these up and down roads here. And I wanted to come at you with a quick video with a quick topic, which is a top 5 video. I've never done that before, but I thought it might be interesting. And I thought we'd go ahead and start with the top 5 advancements in motorcycles of the last couple decades. We're not going to put a very specific year on this. We're just going to say the last couple decades, right? By the way, this road used to be gravel. It was gravel for a number of years until just the last couple of years it was finally paved. So, interesting road out here. A couple of goats. So this list isn't going to be in any particular order. This is just going to be 5 things listed off that I think have improved motorcycles in the last 5 years. Number 5 comes in not necessarily the motorcycles, but the safety gear. A lot of people talk about wearing gear, wearing good full-face helmets, ratings like the Snell rating, but it's really been in the last few decades that we've really had access to these kinds of excellent safety equipment. It's only been recent that we've really had helmets this good and riding jackets and pants this good. And tying into that, number 4, we'll say motorcycle safety features like ABS. Things that haven't been available on motorcycles for very long at all. But beyond that, just better, bigger brakes, more reliable bikes in general, better seating position. It's amazing how much safer motorcycles are today than they were a few years ago. For number 3, we'll say convenience electronics. Stereos, fuel injection. We'll call that a convenience electronic because even though it does improve performance and it improves reliability, it's a big convenience factor because you don't have to deal with cranking and cranking and cranking on a carbureted engine. Wonder what he's up to today. And the other issues that come along with carbs. With the carbureted engine, you've got the big issue of essentially the way fuel works well is when it's aspirated or when it's mixed with the air in a nice fine mist. And carburetors do that, but they don't do a very good job of it. And they don't do a very good job of it especially when they're cold, which is why carbureted bikes don't run well when it's cold, at least not till they're warmed up. Now, Kawasaki and some others have done some interesting things like running engine coolant through the carburetor to kind of warm it up some as the engine warms up. But ultimately, carburetors don't do nearly as well at aspirating fuel as fuel injection does. Now, with fuel injection, like I have on this bike and my previous bike and my wife's bike, and you've seen reviews for all those, fuel injection gives you this awesome opportunity to have a much smoother running engine, an engine that develops more power, and an engine that's ready to go from the moment you crank it over. Fuel-injected bikes generally will fire right up even when it's very cold, just like you expect from your car. You simply expect it to work, and fuel injection works that way as well. Now, a common myth is that you don't have to store fuel when you have fuel-injected bike. You do. If you're storing your bike for a long period of time, you need to use fuel stabilizer because you can still clog up fuel injectors. But fuel injection is extraordinarily reliable, and it's far more reliable than carburetors. It's far more reliable than any other system on the market today. So fuel injection comes in along with other electronics. On a touring cruiser like this, you get a stereo, you can get navigation, electronic cruise control. I love that, right? I can kick that on, and boom, I'm running, and I don't have to worry about it. This isn't really the kind of road to use fuel injection. How about to use cruise control on? And then you've got things on some bikes like electronically adjustable suspension, traction control, trip computers, fuel economy computers, weather band radios, and all kinds of really awesome, cool stuff that gives you access to a variety of things that we never had before on motorcycles. They give you access. These roads would be really fun on a bicycle, but they give you access to things that you couldn't do before. Number 2, fairings. Now, this isn't something that's on all of your bikes, but whether you're on a sport bike or a big touring cruiser, you probably have some sort of a fairing, and this is a relatively new thing. Sport bikes haven't been around all that long. They've been around for a while. Nasty, nasty roads. They've been around for a while, but before them was what was often referred to as UJMs, or Universal Japanese Motorcycles. Now, what a UJM is essentially an inline engine, 2 or 4 cylinders, sometimes 6 actually, but in an upright position, sort of like a cruiser, but with your feet underneath you like a sport bike. Later on, Japanese manufacturers figured out how to give it a more aggressive forward lean angle and how to put some fairings and other wind protection on it to make it faster and more comfortable. road is not in great shape. There we go. And yes, I know that was a rolling stop, but it was also at a weird angle, and we're in the middle of nowhere, so sue me, I guess. Anyway, so wind protection that you get from fairings and those sorts of things is really cool, because it allows you, again, more in a touring cruiser like this, you get more comfort. So as I'm riding down the road here in the wind or whatever, I'm protected from the wind. That doesn't mean I have no wind. I read a criticism not too long ago of fairings and windshields, saying isn't the whole point of being on a motorcycle to be out in the wind? Well, I am out in the wind, but I'm not being beaten up by the wind, and I'm not getting buffeting and vibrations and being hammered with it. I'm not being pushed back in my seat. I'm not having pressure on my chest. I have a comfortable breeze as I roll along. I've got wind, and I don't have too much of it. It's great. And on a sport bike, of course, it does the same thing. Fairings on sport bikes are a lot smaller, but you're leaned forward, so you're making, kind of less of a profile yourself, so it's easier to get away with. So the number one, now that's a tough one. What is the number one advancement for motorcycles in the last couple of decades? Well, I got to think about that one for a second. I have to confess something. 5 is a catchier number, but I could only think of 4 that I thought were really noteworthy in the last couple of decades. So what do you think? In the comments below, what do you think is the most important advancement made in motorcycles in the last few decades? What do you think has made motorcycles better, safer, faster, whatever it is that's important to you? What do you think has improved motorcycles in the last few years? Maybe it's the greater market that is built up, which has allowed a greater variety of bikes. Back in the 60s and 70s, you either had a V-twin Harley that they had some full-fare touring bikes and things like that, but you had to have that, or you had a small, squared-off, universal Japanese motorcycle, and you had a couple of options for full-fare touring bikes, and you had a couple of options here and there for different things, but it didn't work out very well. In fact, going all the way back to the 80s, you had fuel injection as an option, but it wasn't popular. But with the rising motorcycle market, I think we're seeing right now an unprecedented amount of variety in motorcycles. There's a bigger and bigger market. More and more people are getting on 2 wheels. Maybe some of that's improving roads. Maybe some of that's just improving knowledge about motorcycles. But I think a lot of it is just this huge market for motorcycles. And so now these manufacturers are trying to produce a motorcycle for everyone. And so there's this enormous variety that has never been ever before around. Even Harley-Davidson has improved their variety. They have the good old V-twin cruisers, but now they have liquid-cooled bikes like the Street and the V-Rod, and they have, they had a sport bike arm for a short while. They let that go. They just weren't successful with it. But everyone has been developing an enormous variety. So I want to hear your comments below. I'll let you finish the video. Number one, most exciting or most impressive motorcycle improvement or motorcycle technology in the last 2 decades. I know you guys are good at commenting on everything I missed, so this is the opportunity to do that. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later. I'm going to get some riding in because it's beautiful out. Over the weekend, my wife and I got about 200 miles in, and it was just great. I mean, I love this bike more and more every time I ride it, and I've got a new seat on it that's a lot more comfortable. And, I'm going to quit talking to you guys, and I'm going to start riding. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later. God bless. Bye-bye.